Welcome back to another Fantasy Puck video, guys. Today we've got a fun one, and we will have multiple of these types of videos throughout this week just because there isn't really a lot going on in the fantasy hockey realm throughout the All-Star break. So I wanted to kind of do an evaluation of where everybody is at. These are the top 25 centers in the National Hockey League right now in tiers. The way that we're going to do this video is basically I'm going to be rating the top 25 centers based off of how good they've been in fantasy hockey up until this point. The scoring is basically going to be goals, assists, power play points, shots, hits, blocks, no plus minus, no face-offs, none of the extra categories. So just kind of evaluating how the performance of each of these players have been throughout the regular season up until this point. With that being said, guys, this should be a fun little video. Here are your top 25 centers in fantasy hockey in tiers. So before we get started, guys, there will be a link in the description that will actually allow you to vote on these players and what tier you think they should be in. So if you're interested in participating in this tier list, definitely click on the link in the description. I will do kind of a highlight in tomorrow's video where we cover wingers, about like where we kind of ended up rating some of the centermen, or I will touch on that in a future video and kind of like review all of your guys' submissions and everything. So if you're interested in participating in this tier list, be sure to click the link in the description. But let's start things off. I want to just apologize a little bit in advance if this video runs a little bit long. Typically, these tier lists do run a little bit long because I tend to elaborate on the players and how they've been up until this point. But let's try and get through it here. We're going to start at the very beginning. We have Auston Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is going right into S tier. He has 40 goals on the year with 18 assists, 193 shots, 16 power play points, and 42 hits and 56 blocks. So just a fantastic year out of Auston Matthews. Like, there's no other place to put him other than S tier. He's had 40 goals before the All-Star breaks. He's in the realm of 70 goals for this season. He's got to be an S tier. And joining him in S tier will be Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks. Again, fantastic season for Petty so far. 27 goals, 37 assists, 25 power play points, 137 shots. We talked about the shot volume kind of with Pettersson in some of our preseason videos where that kind of it didn't really hurt his draft stock, but it kind of just diminished him a little bit compared to some of the other elite centermen. Just given the fact that his shot volume wasn't as insane as some of the other ones, but 59 hits, which is honestly surprising, and 38 blocks on the year for Pettersson, deserving to be in the S tier, in my opinion. I think for JT Miller, we have to put him in S tier just because of how good he's been. Him and Pettersson have been fantastic this season, but with JT Miller, he's got 21 goals on the year already with 46 assists and 29 power play points. That Vancouver power play has just been elite. Only 100 shots on goal, but the fact that he's at 103 shots already on the year in combination with the rest of these stats, as well as 36 blocks, JT Miller has just been fantastic in every single league possible. If you got this guy anywhere outside of the second round, you are jumping for joy right now. He's just been absolutely elite so far this season. Moving on to Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders. He has, like, I felt like earlier on in the year, he was really, really good. He's kind of tailed off a little bit in the past couple weeks. 21 goals on the year, 17 assists with 13 power play points, 156 shots, 20 hits, and 26 blocks. So overall, pretty good. I'm going to throw him in the B tier. I think earlier on, if we were doing this tier list, I think he would have a couple points to be put into A just because of how good his streaks have been this year when it comes to scoring goals. But for me, Brock Nelson's been solid overall throughout this season. I tried my best to shy away from players that had a significant injury up until this point. But I did want to include guys like Jack Eichel, Jack Hughes, for example, a couple other ones in this as well. No Tage Thompson on the list, as you can see. I didn't feel the need to really include him. He's just had a really mediocre year, and everybody's kind of been aware of that. So I wanted to leave Tage off this list and try and put some other guys that deserve a little bit of love. As you can see at the bottom there, like Joel Eriksson, who we will touch on in a little bit. But for Jack Eichel this season, when he was healthy, he was absolutely fantastic. I have him in A tier. 19 goals on the year, 25 assists, 173 shots, 14 hits, and 40 blocks. The big thing that really stood out to me was the fact that he's at 40 blocks already. The season prior, he only eclipsed 56. So for me, Eichel was just a fantastic, and unfortunate that he just recently went down with that injury. He's been unbelievable so far this season. He was going to shatter his career record. I think if he were to stay healthy, he could be in that 80 to 90 point mark. Hopefully he gets back sooner than later, because God knows Vegas needs him back. Up next, we have Mika Zibanejad. He kind of had a slow start, but recently he's been absolutely tearing it up for the Rangers. 15 goals on the year, 31 assists with 21 power play points, 116 shots, 18 hits, and 35 blocks. Zib really doesn't have those kind of great peripheral numbers in terms of hits or blocks by any means if you compare him to a guy like JT Miller or Austin Matthews and Elias Pettersson when it comes to blocks. Even in the hits category, like only being at 18, but his scoring has come around. I'm going to put Zib in B tier. Just a note, guys, it's not in order by any means of the tiers. So I just want to be clear on that. But Zib has been B tier. I don't think he's quite been at that A level. His production has definitely come around, but I think he still has the chance to kind of get his goal totals up. He's only at 15 goals on the year. So for me, I have him probably at the top of B tier, like might end up putting him into A if I revise the list a little bit. But for so far this year, I think Zib is deserving of that B tier. He's been solid. Taking a closer look at Nick Suzuki's numbers, my immediate impression was to put him into C tier, but I didn't realize how good Suzuki has been so far this season. 13 goals, 29 assists. Just for reference, this is only like 4 points behind Zibanejad right now in terms of his production. Got 22 power play points on the year, which is one higher than Zib technically. And then his shot volume, honestly, it hasn't been as bad as I thought it is. He's at 109 shots on goal, where Zib is at 116 currently. 37 hits on the year, which I found very surprising for a guy like Suzuki, and 23 blocks. I have no choice but to kind of put him in the B tier. He's been solid enough, very similar to Zib, where he's just been a little bit underwhelming. Not deserving of being put in the C tier, but for me, Suzuki has been solid, so I'm going to put him in the B tier. Up next, we have Rupe Hintz of the Dallas Stars. 22 goals, 25 assists, 13 power play points, which is kind of really been the issue with Dallas this year, is the fact that their power play just has not been up to par with what it has been in previous years. They did lose out on Miro Heiskanen for a little bit, but Hintz 109 shots on top of that with 13 hits and 17 blocks on the season. I think I'm going to swap these two, actually. Nelson's been really underwhelming now that I look at it. So I'm going to swap those two. Hintz into B tier, probably deserving of being over Nelson right now, just given the point totals. Next, we've got Brayden Point of the Tampa Bay Lightning. 25 goals, 29 assists for just over 50 points, 54 to be exact. 19 power play points on the year, 137 shots, and he's got 10 hits and 31 blocks on top of that as well. Point's been solid. I think out of everybody in the B tier, Point is kind of just a little bit ahead because he does have that shot volume in combination with the fact that he is just below that 30 goal mark and over that 50 point mark. So I think I'm going to put him into A tier. Up next, we have Sebastian Aho of the Carolina Hurricanes. 17 goals on the year, 37 assists. I feel like he is very, very streaky, where Carolina's kind of been up and down this year in terms of their production. We've seen Svetch being one of those guys, especially being in and out of the lineup constantly. They've been dealing with a ton of injuries. And for me, looking at his numbers, 17 goals, 37 assists, 22 power play points, 131 shots, 20 hits, 10 blocks. Has been very, very solid on the year. Obviously, he's at that 54-point mark on the season. I think he's deserving of the A tier. His assists and point totals really bring him up, in combination with the fact that he has, again, a good shot volume at 131 shots on the year already. He kind of lacks in those hits and blocks categories, but I think the production and the shot volume and the power play points definitely make up for it. Up next, we have Evgeny Malkin of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I felt like earlier in the year, Malkin was just on an absolute tear in the first couple months, and he's kind of just died off since. Comparing him to Brock Nelson, similar numbers, but not quite. 16 goals, 24 assists, 12 power play points, 125 shots, 11 hits, 23 blocks. I'm going to throw him in the C tier. I can't justify him putting him above Brock Nelson, given the fact that Nelson's got more goals, more shots, more hits, more blocks, more power play points, even though by a slight margin. So for me, Malkin is in that C tier now. Up next is John Tavares of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's been incredibly underwhelming this season outside of his peripherals. His peripherals have been great: 174 shots on goal, 52 hits, 25 blocks. It's just the production, guys. Like 13 goals on the year, 22 assists. I can't really put him higher than the C tier. He's been incredibly mediocre this year. So I think you can't really put him higher than C, even though his peripherals are very, very good and his shot volume is very good. His production just has been completely lackluster this season. You have Robert Thomas of the St. Louis Blues. Honestly, like, I think one of the more underrated players in the National Hockey League. He is an incredibly good playmaker, and you can see by the assist totals this year, he's got 17 goals, 35 assists on the year already, 10 power play points, 99 shots on goal, 9 hits, 26 blocks. I would have him in the A tier if it wasn't for the fact that his peripherals are just so lackluster in terms of his shot volume, in terms of his hit volume, in terms of his block volume. You compare him to a guy like Roope Hintz. He's got lower shot volume than Hintz does, lower hits than Hintz does, and lower power play points, even though he's already at 35 assists on the year. So for me, I'm going to throw Robert Thomas in the B tier. Up next, we have Tim Stützle of the Ottawa Senators. Again, just been really underwhelming in that goal scoring department. Very similar to guys like John Tavares, for example. He's only got 11 on the year so far. He does have a 36 assists with 9 power play points, 128 shots, 44 hits, and 22 blocks. I think those assist totals, very similar to Robert Thomas, have really been his bread and butter this year. I'm going to throw him in the B tier. I think the peripherals and the fact that Stützle does have 36 assists on the year really bumps him from that C to B tier. So I'm going to leave Timmy in the B tier. Up next, we have Ryan O'Reilly of the Nashville Predators. He was somebody that was really, really good early on as well and kind of has tailed off. 17 goals, 25 assists, 119 shots, 18 hits, and 23 blocks. I'm going to throw him in the bottom of C tier. He just doesn't really have the point totals as some of these other guys in the B tier, for example. But his shot volume has been really good so far this year. 119 shots, 17 goals on the year is pretty good. And then 25 assists on top of that. But not quite eclipsing any of the guys in B tier or any of the guys really in C tier to be bumped up to that B tier. So for me, Ryan O'Reilly is going to stay in the C tier. Bo Horvat has been solid for the New York Islanders this season. 20 goals, 25 assists, 14 power play points, 146 shots, 33 hits, and 30 blocks. Very similar numbers to a guy like Roope Hintz, so I think he's deserving of that B tier. He's got basically double the amount of goals as Tim Stützle does, but Timmy has an extra 10 assists. And I think the shot volume with 146 shots on goal has been solid for Horvat so far this season, and he'll chip in those hits and blocks categories as well. So I think B is a pretty good rating for Horvat. Next, we have Alexander Barkov, and 11 goals, 37 assists on the season. Similar numbers to Tim Stützle in terms of his production, with 17 power play points on the year, 124 shots, 42 hits, and 32 blocks. So for me, I'm going to put Barkov in the A tier, just given the fact that his production has been so good, even though he's missed a bunch of games already throughout the season. That's usually the case with him, where he's just relatively consistently over a point a game, but those injuries kind of hold him back from having these crazy high point seasons anymore. So for me, I think Barkov is deserving of the A tier. You can compare him to a guy like Sebastian Aho. Even though his goal totals aren't as high, the production has been very good along with the shot volume and surprisingly the hits as well. I still am putting Connor McDavid in that S tier. I know we haven't seen the incredible 150 point pace season that we saw last year. Listen, guys, he's got 20 goals, 47 assists on the year so far with 144 shots, 61 hits, which is honestly shocking, and 21 blocks on the year with 25 power play points. He's well over that 60-point mark. I think he's deserving of S tier. I think he's really turned his season around. Earlier on in the season, within the first couple months, I think he would have been in the A, maybe even B tier, just based off his performance. But he's really turned it around. He's going to be a top 10 scorer again. He's going to be top 5 in points. Like, I just think McDavid is still deserving of the S tier, even though it hasn't been that torrid pace that we saw from him last season. Leon Draisaitl, however, 23 goals, 34 assists, 126 shots, 18 hits, and 16 blocks with 22 power play points. The power play point totals with him and McDavid are always going to be super high. But I think I'm going to draw a little bit of a line and throw Draisaitl kind of in the top of that A tier, just based off of how he's been this season. He isn't really close to those point totals that McDavid are at. He's still technically below the 60-point mark for me. So I think he's at the top of A tier, on the cusp of the S tier. I think he's going to have a fantastic second half of the season, and we're going to look back at this video in a little bit and be like, well, Draisaitl is really an S tier player and will continue to be going forward. He just had a really, really slow start in Edmonton, and it's kind of just picked it up since then. So I think I'm going to have him in the A tier for right now. Vincent Trocheck has been absolutely fantastic this season. 15 goals, 31 assists, 17 power play points, 119 shots, 65 hits, and 44 blocks. He's been an absolute stud for you guys so far this season. I think I'm going to put him at the bottom of A, just given the fact that he's got those relatively high point totals. Like, he's at 46 points on the year, so hovering around a point a game right now, in combination with the fact that you get him for 120 shots, essentially 65 hits, and 44 blocks on top of that. I think I'm comfortable with putting him over Zib for right now, just given the fact that, yes, like, Zib probably is going to outscore that guy in the second half of the season. And yeah, Zib technically has the same amount of points as Trocheck right now. But with Trocheck, I think the thing that really sets him apart is the peripherals. 119 shots, 65 hits, and 44 blocks, which is well and above what Zib has in terms of hits and blocks, and just a little bit over his shot volume. So I think he's deserving of a spot over Mika Zibanejad and get into that A tier. Nathan MacKinnon, we don't even have to talk about this guy. This guy's been probably the best player in the National Hockey League this season, outside of like Elias Pettersson, Austin Matthews, I think. If you're just talking about forwards, he's just absolutely been torching the National Hockey League. He's been fantastic. I'm so happy that we're seeing like a full season of fingers crossed, knock on wood, we're seeing a full season of Mac be healthy, because he is deserving of the Hart Trophy. He's just been unbelievable. 31 goals, 53 assists, 32 power play points, 224 shots already. That is absurd. Like, I don't even want to go, like, his blocks and hits don't even matter. He's unbelievable. He's the best player in the league right now. Dylan Larkin had that really, really hot start early on in the season when Detroit was just rolling. He's kind of slowed a little bit, but 22 goals, 24 assists, 19 power play points, 143 shots, 16 hits, and 20 blocks on the season. I think that's a B tier worthy for me, guys. I'll just throw him in here somewhere. Again, these aren't in order in terms of caliber, but I think for me, Larkin's been solid this year. He's had a great amount of shot volume. He just needs to stay a little bit healthier. Obviously, like, he went down with that injury for a couple weeks, so that's something to note, but I think he's deserving of the B tier. Jack Hughes has been out for a while now. I have him on this list just to show you how good he has been in the span that he's been healthy. 15 goals, 30 assists, 21 power play points, 138 shots, 7 hits, 14 blocks. These numbers are better than anybody else in the B tier and rival some of the players in the A tier. Jack Hughes is going to be a 100-point player for the rest of his career if he can stay healthy. I think he's deserving of the S tier if you're looking what he did in the games that he's played so far this season. And I think in the second half of the season, once he comes back off his injury, he's going to continue to torch the National Hockey League. The shot volume is just insane. The point production is just insane. The power play point, he's got 21 power play points already. He's missed a ton of games so far this season. So I think he's still deserving of the S tier, even though he hasn't seen anything close to some of the game totals that some of these players have on the list. Now, Sidney Crosby has been fantastic this year. 27 goals already for him on the season with 23 assists, 10 power play points, 167 shots, 47 hits, and 22 blocks. He's been unbelievable, over a point a game, and he's continued to kind of find that pace even at his age. So I want to put him into S tier, but I can't justify him. I think he lives at the top of A tier if I were to put him somewhere 27 goals is really making me want to throw him in that S tier, but given what he has this season, I think you can't really put him above anybody, or you can't really put him in the category of players in S tier. I think you could justify like bumping down Jack Hughes, for example, to A tier and maybe swapping him and Crosby. But I think for right now, this is what I'm going to go with. And then finishing up our video, guys, I want to give some love to Joel Eriksson-Ek. Like I said, I had him in over Tage Thompson. He's been great this season. 21 goals, 18 assists, 148 shots on goal already, 92 hits, and 38 blocks. Just a fantastic peripherals player. I think he's deserving of the A tier given his peripherals, but his production really kind of drops him down to the B tier. But Jeek has just been fantastic so far this season. That is going to do for this video, guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'm going to do wingers tomorrow, defensemen after that, and then we will also dabble into goalies. Again, tried to make this video shorter. I will try to make some of the future videos shorter. But the tier list just kind of go on for a little bit longer than anticipated. But again, if you guys want to participate, and I love to always see your guys' opinions, let me know in the comments down below where you would rate these players based off of how they've been so far in the league this season. I think I did a pretty good job, but let me know where I went wrong. Let me know who you have in what tier above who. Did I miss out anybody drastically? Let me know in the comments down below. Always love hearing your guys' opinions. Like I said, I'll have more of these videos throughout the rest of the week, but I will see you in the next video. Have yourselves a fantastic rest of the day.